Very good evening. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. The situation across the northeast is dire tonight. Protests have erupted across the region, with the army being called into Guwahati. Internet blockades in various parts of Assam and other states have also been announced. The protests are over the Citizenship Amendment Bill that has just cleared the Rajya Sabha hurdle after 2 days of intense debates. A walkout by the Shiv Sena could have made it easier for the BJP to pass the bill, which seemed fairly comfortably placed as far as the numbers go. But tonight, honestly, the story is not in the Rajya Sabha. It is in Dispur, it is in Tripura, where anger has erupted against the bill. The reasons may be different from those who are opposing it in the Rajya Sabha, and the situation is honestly dire. Before we begin the debate this evening, let's take a look at ground reports filed from Guwahati by my colleague Arindam Das.
You can see thousands of protesters have marched here from several parts of Guwahati, and they are right now moving towards the secretariat. You can see tires, wood and other things are burnt on the streets. Traffic has totally come to a standstill. So this is the situation here. You can see vandalism has started. People are breaking this concrete divider. In fact, it is turning violent right now. And in fact, the scene there, you can see ahead, the thousands of protesters here have blocked the road. They are not allowing a single vehicle to pass. Only one or two ambulances are being allowed to move in. And these protesters, they are not going to slow down their protests because they are very much angry on the central government's decision to bring the Citizenship Amendment Bill. So right now we are at the Ganeshguri area and we are marching towards the secretariat, and that's the scene. You can see out there where a huge fire has been set up by the protesters right on the middle of the street, which is preventing the movement of the vehicles. So Guwahati right now has witnessed an uncalled shutdown. So the entire traffic and entire life has come to a standstill in Guwahati because of anti-cab protests across the city. A huge crowd has gathered outside the secretary, and the crowd is growing hour after hour. You can see people are burning tires and wood on the streets, and they are blocking the vehicular movement. The traffic in Guwahati has come to a standstill, and the life has also come to a standstill because you can see huge protests are taking place across Guwahati. And this is the scene just outside the Assam Secretariat, where a huge crowd has gathered protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Bill. They are saying that in no way they are going to accept the Citizenship Amendment Bill. We have also seen a huge presence of police personnel. In fact, they have resorted to tear gas shelling, lathi charge, and using water cannons to quell the mob. But that is not helping much. You can see right now also these plastic dividers are being set on fire on the road, which has disrupted vehicular traffic. So traffic and life has come to a standstill in Guwahati, and this is the scene across Assam and Northeast.
That's the situation tonight. In the latest wire agencies are reporting that the army will be called into Guwahati by Wednesday evening. We've also seen reports that paramilitary forces are being deployed from Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, to areas in the northeast. And now joining me to discuss what is going on in the country, the Citizenship Amendment Bill, and why it has caused such huge agitation in the northeast. Are we able to understand what exactly is going on? To speak more on this, I'm joined this evening by Tathagat Satpathy, former Member of Parliament in the Lok Sabha and journalist, R. Jagannathan, Editorial Director of Swaraj Magazine, and Sanjoy Hazarika, International Director at Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. I'm also speaking this evening with Vaibhav Agarwal of the BJP. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for talking to us today. I'm going to come to you first, Sanjoy Hazarika, to understand, and I'm asking very simple, basic questions which perhaps some of those watching this evening are also trying to understand. Why is there so much anger against the Citizenship Amendment Bill? And how does this anger differ from the arguments we've heard today in the Rajya Sabha, which wanted this bill scrapped?
See, I think the fundamental issue here is people feel, I think, a sense of being let down. because I think there was the feeling that people weren't consulted, their concerns weren't taken on board. And you must remember that although some people may try to separate this from the NRC and the CAB are like Siamese twins. They're joined at the hip, because one tries to legitimize what the other has placed in the excluded list. So there is anger about the fact that nobody is happy about the NRC in Assam, and the CAB has come as an additional boost to that anger, because what I think people are concerned about, and this has not been met in the narrative that has been developed or shared or spoken by the party leadership, is that they feel that in parts of Assam, in parts of other parts of the northeast, they may be reduced, the original inhabitants may be reduced to a minority. And to many people in Assam, the movement in Assam in the 80s, and I've seen it from 79 onwards, when the first torchlight procession against illegal migration took place in Guwahati, there is a sense that they're not being taken seriously, the protests are not being heard. And you must remember that I was just talking to somebody in Guwahati. I said, it reminds me of a day in 1980 when the entire city came out, when curfew was declared, and just protested against, he just came out. Everybody came out.
That's what
Mr.
Hazarika
and
sometimes
there was a curfew, and here you have a similar situation with young people leading it.
You know, sometimes I wonder, not just young people, I'm reading reports that government officials from behind the gates of the secretariats are showing solidarity by wearing, gamusas. And I'm wondering if there has been a miscalculation in understanding how sensitive this issue is in Assam and in large parts of the northeast, despite the changes in the bill to assuage concerns here which were mentioned by the BJP.
No, you see, there's one fundamental question that the bill raises. It talks about the persecuted groups, the persecuted minorities in these countries, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, but nowhere does it lay out a criteria of what that persecution is supposed to be. How do you develop basic indicators for that persecution? There cannot be an assumption that everybody who's come is persecuted. I mean, I've met Hindus in Bangladesh who say that they're moving to India. Some of the people have moved to India not because of persecution, but because of economic reasons. There are environmental reasons why people move. There are a whole host of things. It's not just one way. And the other thing that we need to keep in mind is you may be able to protect people, or you're trying to protect, throw the cloak of protection around people who've come, perhaps illegally, into this country from the 6 communities. Will you be able to protect them in their countries? There are minorities there, over 14 million or so Hindus in Bangladesh. And could this create a dimension of unprecedented intimidation and threats to them? We cannot ignore that possibility.
Okay, let me open up this debate. If you're not thinking about
this in terms of risk management, then the risk architecture, security architecture, is not functioning very well.
Let me come to you, R. Jagannathan. Let me come to you, because the passing of the bill in the Rajya Sabha, of course, is the big headline. But it was expected. It was expected that they'd get the numbers. It has gone through. We'll have to wait and see now if someone takes it to court and how it's implemented, etc., etc. But look at the strife it has created. Look at the strife. We have the army marching out in Guwahati today. Do you think there was a miscalculation, Jaggi, on understanding how emotive this issue is? It flared up before the 2019 elections, and then, the BJP sort of postponed moving it to the Rajya Sabha till the elections were over. But they're back with it right now. Do you think they've bitten off more than they can chew?
Actually, there are 2 separate issues here. First thing is that the BJP promised too much when they said they're going to send back all the infiltrators before the 2014 election and the 2017 Assam elections. So there was a rising sense of expectation that a lot of the people, both Hindus and Muslims who are considered illegals, will be sent out. But the BJP actually has a larger game plan, which also involves recognizing the level of persecution in 3 Islamist countries around the neighborhood. So they have a larger agenda than just Assam, and they needed the CAB. And also after the NRC, very flawed NRC in Assam got implemented, and a lot of people who should have been there didn't get included, and they got excluded. So they felt that the necessary for the CAB to come in to make partial amends. That is why there is a deep sense of letdown in Assam itself, and the violence you're seeing is because the expectations were too high, when actually reality meant that not everybody will be declared an illegal alien and packed off from Assam. So the BJP now has to mollify them. They have to tell them, you have to be realistic. You can't expect every single person to be thrown out of Assam, not 2 million people or even more. That there has to be some adjustment. We will try and see and reduce the burden. So they have to mollify the crowd. But the CAB involves more than just Assam. It involves West Pakistan, Pakistan refugees. It involves a small amount
but Jaggi, time and again the Home Minister has clarified that the CAB has nothing to do with the NRC. No, time and again the Home Minister has clarified that the CAB has nothing to do with the NRC.
Yeah,
they are two different things. But yet, what we're seeing today in the Northeast
in
shows
Assam
that no one really buys
Assam
that.
It has something to do with the NRC, but not elsewhere.
Okay, Tathagat, let me come to you. Let me come to you and your reading on the situation this evening. So there are two things. The concerns with the Citizen Amendment Bill by the opposition and civil rights activists, etc. Many have, taken out signature campaigns. Is that it is exclusionary on the basis of religion. In the Northeast, the anger is that it will include on the basis of religion. They want exclusion on the basis of, identity. What do you make of the situation overall?
See, the world, as far as I know, the world in general goes by jus soli, that means citizenship by birth. Here what happens, and Mr. Hazarika gave a very good dimension to the whole issue. When indigenous people are flooded with outsiders, no matter what religion comes secondary or tertiary, I believe, and I have seen this in small scale in my state of Orissa also, when the local people, and when I say indigenous, I don't mean tribals, I mean indigenous, those who are from that, from that area, from that land, when they are flooded, when they are outnumbered by outsiders, there is a problem, there is anger, there is frustration, and we have seen this where people from neighboring states of neighboring Orissa like Jharkhand and other, when they have migrated to Orissa for mining activities and stuff like that, there is heartburn within the locals. So this must be happening not only in Assam or the Northeast. Once this CAB is implemented throughout the country, I guess this fire will spread. But then the BJP-led government of Mr. Modi had tried to do this in the last during the last Lok Sabha, but because of the elections, they withdrew. Now, because the elections are just over, not even a year has gone by, they are bamboozling the nation with their agenda. I even heard today that they have moved part of the armed forces from J&K into Assam because Assam is going out of control and the police is incapable of handling it by themselves. What Mr. Hazarika also pointed out, I completely agree with him, that if there are millions of Hindus in Bangladesh now, and you create a situation where you are saying that they are persecuted there, what happens to those people first? And what is the basis of that persecution? There is no clarity of thought or no clarity of any sort in the act. If you read the act that has come into Parliament and has been passed today, there is no clarity on that aspect.
I'm going to go.
Eventually we are dealing with a very vague subject, and
no, like we've said before, there's no clarity on how many people this will affect immediately. Vaibhav Agarwal, since you've heard everyone's comments and you're here representing the BJP, I'd like you to respond, and everyone, I request you to be brief because we're doing a very short, snappy debate here this evening. I'd like you to respond to two things. One, has there been a miscalculation of the impact of this in the Northeast and especially in Assam? The situation seems to have gone completely out of control. And next, the questions about actual implementation.
See, thanks for having me. Good evening, everyone. The idea is that let's look at it from very clear perspectives and a little legal perspective first before we jump on to our emotional sides. The first perspective is that the NRC talks about Article 5 and deals with the issues of Article 5 of the Constitution of the country, which is according to the Schedule 7, number 17 in the list of Schedule 7, which is naturalization and aliens and citizenship. And that's where we draw the power. The center government draws the power to actually bring a Citizenship Amendment Bill. Now, Citizenship Amendment Bill has nothing to do with Article 5, nothing to do with Article 14, and I have no idea. I think most of us who are intelligent enough, who understand from time to time, keeping our emotions aside, we have no idea that why is it that there is a hue and cry on it. There is no one being thrown out. There is no one being sent to a detention center. There is no one being asked to leave, etc., etc., etc. All we're talking about is amending the Citizenship Act of 1955, read in conjunction with the Foreigners Act and the Passport of India Act of 1920 and 1940, amending it to allow, from a humanitarian perspective, to allow religiously persecuted people in the neighboring countries to come and take refuge. As simple as that. And there are many Indians who are there who chose probably in some time back, who chose to stay back and probably want to come back. So, we need to mature up a little. Not allow local politics.
But okay, you've explained all of this, and we've been hearing debates for 2 days now explaining this. But Vaibhav, my question is specifically, you're talking about emotion. Have you seen the pictures coming in from Guwahati Dispur today?
I have.
You've seen
it.
Why have you failed in explaining this? Why has your Chief Minister in Assam failed in explaining this? Himanta Biswa Sarma should be a worried man today. If government employees are coming out and supporting the protesters, I think this has been a major political miscalculation of what this means for the people in the Northeast.
What we are suffering from is a paradoxical situation where we do not want to get educated on the difference between the NRC, the purpose therein, and the objective of the Citizenship Amendment Bill, the CAB. And when we suffer from such a paradox, we allow external forces, especially politics, to happen. And look what is happening to our country, to our lovely Northeast. And it is not in any politician's hand to actually explain this. It is we as citizens who need to stop talking about it, draw a line, we as intellectuals of the debate, draw a line between the two and explain it.
Very condescending to the people out there. If politicians and those elected to run a government can't control the law and order situation, I think, they should be questioned. Sanjoy Hazarika, you want to come in? That's a little bit of condescension there, Vaibhav, saying that people should be intelligent enough to understand the difference. If you're calling all of these protesters unintelligent, look at the anger out there. Has there been a miscalculation? Sanjoy Hazarika, you want to respond very quickly. Look, this is a short, snappy debate. Please keep your responses quick. Yes, Sanjoy Hazarika.
Very quickly, I think there's always been a miscalculation by Delhi. Delhi is the Delhi of power. Delhi doesn't listen to the far-flung peripheries. There's been talk about listening, but if you are listening, you would have a dialogue. You wouldn't have a curfew. You wouldn't call the army out. You're essentially the same problems or same challenges and the same mistakes are being repeated. Why not have a dialogue, have a conversation? People just want to feel included in this process. They don't want to be taken for granted. You're taking people for granted. And there will be a reaction from small states like Assam. Remember this, from the 1940s till today, it is the small states that have challenged the might of the state. And at the periphery, you need to take this very seriously. You're not taking it You know, I mean, I've heard this sort of thing. People should understand this. Are you understanding them? Why are you asking them? You have two governments of the BJP, one in Assam and one in Tripura. You had a large mandate, and what's happened?
Yeah. Okay.
People are coming out in the streets to protest against this bill, this act. One moment. And the chief minister is one who should understand this, because he's born of agitations. He was the leader of ASU before he came to the AGP and BJP. So this is something for us to remember.
Yeah, very quickly, Jaggi.
With all due respect, it is very important for us to understand that who benefits from such protests. We all saw protests in 2016 as well, and we all saw protests now. And look at the scale of it. We all need to understand.
If you think your opposition in Assam has the might to organize protests like this, I think you're giving them more credit than is due. This is a dangerous situation which needs to be fixed quickly. Jaggi, the concern is, let me come to the simple basic concern, which I know there have been loads of explanations, but I'm not sure if everyone's doubts or concerns are cleared, that this paves the way of using the CAB in conjunction with the NRC. Now, this question was asked again and again, and I may have missed it. I don't know, and I don't think there was a clear clarification saying that the CAB will never be used in conjunction with the NRC. That it will never be used to rescue those who may have been left out of an NRC.
Both have to be read together.
Yeah, see, I think the national level NRC is not linked to the CAB, but in Assam there is definitely a linkage, because after the last NRC process was conducted, you have 1.9 million people left out. And the BJP was surprised that so many of the people that it thought would be included were excluded. That is why they need the CAB urgently to make sure that large parts of their future voting base is not excluded. That is why in Assam there is certainly a linkage, but outside Assam the NRC and CAB need not be linked, and the NRC can be conducted far more sensibly on a national scale with minimal disruption. But the CAB is essential for sending a message that after 70 years, if you do not take note of the fact that Hindu lives matter in 3 Islamist states, then what kind of country are you running? That is an important message to give to this country, and that also is important. And the two ideas are in conflict. That's why you're seeing Assam in flames. The BJP needs to move in quickly to put out those flames.
Well, I'll take away one part of what you said. What kind of a country are we running? That's a question I think everyone is asking tonight. We're just a couple of weeks away from ending 2019 and entering a new decade of 2020. I want to thank all of you gentlemen for joining us in the debate, but I want to leave you viewers with this thought. As we enter the last couple of weeks and a new era in 2020, why are we focusing on what has happened 70, 80, 100 years ago? When will we look at what is before us, the challenges before us as a nation, as a people? I hope we can bring our focus back where it needs to be. And that focus will be right back after this very short break. I'm talking to Thomas Isaac, the Finance Minister of the state of Kerala, asking why he's so upset about GST. Are they going to hike rates, and should we be looking at hiking rates right now? All of that and more, of course, our eye on the FOMC meet also after this very short break. Don't go away.